Hello lovely people who enjoy lovely things, my name is Rach, and something that is generally not lovely is cheap video game boss fights. Calling any aspect of a video game cheap is always a touchy subject. People misinterpret this as an excuse for just being bad at video games. Nobody likes to lose, but if it's because of your own ineptitude, the pill of defeat is far easier to swallow. That is not the case when the enemy you come up against is so clearly designed to win no matter how well you play against them. So keep a nice tight grip on that controller as we explore 10 genuinely unfair video game bosses that were ridiculously broken. Number 10. Living Ice, Lost Odyssey. If you're a JRPG fan and you haven't heard of or played Lost Odyssey, you're doing both it and yourself a huge disservice. Lost Odyssey was an old-school turn-based RPG headed up by the Final Fantasy creator Hironobu Sakaguchi. Due to the way in which Lost Odyssey's narrative is structured, there are various encounters spread throughout the story that require you to use a very strict setup of party members. One such case is when you come up against the Living Ice boss, a monster that, for all intents and purposes, is immune to magical damage. And as luck would have it, your party during the fight consists of 3 magic users and one little brat, Mac, that can actually hurt the damn thing. Sure, if you've bothered to actually level up Mac prior to this fight, then you're probably going to be fine. The problem, though, is that nobody ever did, because the character was just total trash and inferior to every other melee-type character available. Number 9. General RAAM, Gears of War. Krill. That's all that needs to be said. Seriously though, those little bird-like cretins that constantly swarm around RAAM like flies round poop are one of the worst mechanics of any game ever. Mainly because there's absolutely no indication while you're fighting the Locust General that what you're actually attacking him with is doing any damage. You just have to constantly hammer away at RAAM's living shield until it gives away for you to actually hurt the dude directly. You can only get off a few shots before it comes right back too. Only compounding the issue further is the fact that if you try and move around the arena for a better vantage point, the Krill will instantly attack you if you so much as step foot into an unlit area. Oh, and when you actually get RAAM low on health, he'll decide to charge at you like a raving lunatic, forcing you to flee into the very same area that the Krill are waiting for you. And you can forget about using that big-ass turret too. Number 8. SETH, Street Fighter 4. SETH is basically every type of character combined into one, which means that he has no inherent weakness but has all the strengths of every type. He can throw projectiles, so staying at a distance is a big no-no. You'd think that would mean that you could just get in close to the overgrown Smurf and trap him in a corner, but no, if you do that, he can just use some Zangief-style grapple moves and deplete your health even faster. Oh, and don't forget that he also has the ability to teleport at will, meaning that you're literally never in a safe place regardless of your position. SETH isn't the cheapest fighting game boss in gaming, but he is certainly up there. Number 7. The Jeep Convicts, Dead Rising. Aside from the fact that you have to fight against 3 psychopaths driving a Jeep whilst on foot, Capcom also saw fit to add a giant mounted machine gun onto the back of the military-grade off-road car. Due to how the courtyard location is used as a means to bridge multiple areas of the mall together, Frank has no choice but to brave crossing it on multiple occasions, making the convicts almost unavoidable. The bosses seem to have a sixth sense whenever you enter their turf too, and will immediately make a beeline for you as soon as you enter the area. If you try to take them head on, they'll just flatten you like a pancake under their tires. No, your only real safe option to dispatching them is grabbing a sniper rifle and picking them off from afar. Even if you manage to beat them though, all 3 convicts will respawn complete with Jeep every 24 hours of in-game time. The only boss in the entire game that does so. Number 6. Silver the Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. Was Sonic the Hedgehog 06 developed by a real video games company or the result of randomly pressing buttons on a keyboard in the hopes that some workable code would come out? Nobody knows the real answer, but the result was this catastrophic excuse for a video game. It's so glitchy, broken, and borderline unplayable that if you actually manage to beat Silver in the head-to-head duel with him as Sonic, it will almost be entirely down to luck. Every single attack that Silver can use is already unfair on its own, but when you couple that with a glitch that almost always follows it, then you have a bitter-tasting recipe for disaster. At any point during the battle, Silver can freeze you in place for several seconds and make you lose all of your rings. He can immediately follow this up with the exact same attack, killing you instantly before you even get a chance to react. And if that doesn't kill you, then you can look forward to a telekinetic attack that's so broken that you'll usually end up stuck inside a building or blasting off into space. Number 5. Pandemonium Warden. Final Fantasy XI. Final Fantasy XI has some of the most sadistic bosses of the Final Fantasy series. Pandemonium Warden isn't just notorious among fans who have had the pleasure of coming up against him. The boss made headlines across the world when it appeared in the Final Fantasy MMORPG, and not for good reason. A group of players spent 18 concurrent hours attempting to defeat it. After the raid members started fainting and vomiting due to fatigue, Square Enix was forced to significantly reduce the boss's difficulty. Today, though, it's still laughably unfair. Pandemonium Warden has 10 different forms that you need to get through before you can call yourself a winner. But honestly, regardless of who emerges victorious, nobody is a winner in this unfair fight designed to test only your patience. Number 4. God Rugal. Capcom vs SNK 2. Cheap boss fights have almost become synonymous with the beat-em-up genre, and nobody really knows why anymore. There was once a time when boss fights were designed specifically with the odds in their favour for the purposes of making you spend money in arcades, but those days are long gone. And yet, the trend continues. Say hi to God Rugal. The majority of characters in a fighting game are balanced to excel at a certain type of combat. Long range, close combat, grappler, or pressure type with their own strengths and weaknesses. God Rugal, on the other hand, can do everything with none of the disadvantages. It takes him almost zero time to recover from an attack or combo, even if he misses, and it makes the prospect of even damaging him a mission in itself. You're best off finding a character with a cheap attack and just exploiting the hell out of it. Don't worry about honor, because God Rugal certainly doesn't have any. Number 3. MOTARO. Mortal Kombat 3. It's Mortal Kombat's time to shine, and you'll no doubt have been expecting to hear a nice rant about Shao Kahn here, but he already gets a lot of flack. MOTARO, however, that butt-ugly centaur-like amalgamation of horns, stripes, hoofs and tails, is the worst sub-boss of any video game ever. It's not the teleports, insanely bloated damage, or spammable projectiles that make MOTARO an absolute joke in terms of balance. No, it's the fact that he's completely immune to projectiles. The stuff just bounces straight off of his body. That means you have no choice but to get in close, but MOTARO has an answer for that too. He'll just grab you and punch you so hard that you'll fly to the other side of the screen so he can start spamming his energy balls in your face again. Number 2. GILL. Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. Forget about Seth, that guy doesn't even hold a dim candle to Street Fighter 3 Third Strike's GILL and his hot burning flame of unfairness. GILL is essentially Neo from The Matrix. Their appearance couldn't be more different, but they can both bend the rules of the world to fit their own desires. Every attack that this bizarre creature manages to land on you takes off a sizable chunk of your health. He can freeze you in place and follow up with a killer combo and interrupt practically every attack that reaches him. Even if you somehow manage to down him, GILL's ultra ability enables him to resurrect himself with a full health bar and carry on with the smackdown. Don't worry though, if his AI is feeling particularly merciful, he'll just execute his other ultra and kill you in one hit instead. Number 1. VORTEX Queen. ECCO the Dolphin. It's not just the boss fights in ECCO the Dolphin that are unfair, everything is. Unforgiving controls, no manual or autosaves, and a total lack of guidance are all defining features. But then there's the game's final boss, the VORTEX Queen. The actual battle with the VORTEX Queen is pretty simple and straightforward, but the real kicker is her drones. At any point during the fight, the Queen will spit out drones that will chase you until you either kill them or are captured. If you're caught, you don't simply retry the fight. Oh no! You're dumped right back at the start of the previous level leading up to the boss. Yeah, it's not a joke. Each and every time you're caught, you have no choice but to repeat the previous stage to make it back to where you were. Seriously, put it in the bin and then put that bin inside of another bin. Garbage. And that's our list. Thank you so much for watching. Guys, hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to subscribe for more lists like this every single day. Once again, my name has been Rach. You can follow me on Twitter if you like at Don't Rage Quit, but you be sure to have an awesome day. You smell lovely.